All right. Hi, Juergen. Thanks for being willing to be interviewed. Could you please just introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, I'm Juergen Vinkenfluegel. I've been in the energy and oil and gas business for nearly 42 years of my life, working for a lot of large conglomerates. But more recently, the last 10 years, I spent time as a CEO working for private equity firms.
Great. Thank you. And when we first met, you talked to me about your company exit. So could you share a little bit about how that came about? Your role in the company? Were you the founder of the company? Were you recruited? A little bit about the origin of that story.
Mhm. Well, in the private equity world, there's always two roles to be played. One is the shareholder, the private equity firm, which brings the money into the company, which helps buying an asset. And then for a private equity firm, you buy a company to sell it again. So the background of the business model is you buy the company, you improve it, you do cost reductions, business improvement, fund the growth, and then you sell it again. So it's all about creating value. And I was hired to be the CEO of portfolio companies and do exactly what I've just described, understanding the business, growing it, take cost out, make it more profitable, make it ready to sell.
Okay. Was it multiple companies or was it just one that you
I've
worked
done
for?
it twice in my life.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
So what made you invest your time and money into those particular projects? Like, how would you assess the value of your investment of time and money?
Well, I'm maybe a bit of an untypical animal in the market because I only work for companies where I understand the market and the business environment. So I've always chosen jobs in a market environment I'm familiar with. So that means it was always like the energy business where I grew up and where I knew the market and the products and the customers. And that makes it much more easy to decide whether you are willing to invest into something where you believe it can be successful. Because when you invest in a private equity environment as CEO, it's a high risk investment. You can lose the entire investment, or you can make a lot of money if you are successful. Therefore, my advice is always you only do that when you understand what the company is all about and whether there's a good chance of growing the company, make it more profitable, and exiting the business by selling the company.
So you did it twice, so you must really trust your judgment on that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I worked several decades in large conglomerates. Um, Besides the possibility to invest your own money into the business you run, private equity offers another motivating environment, and that is that other than in a large conglomerate, you are really on your own. You can run the business, you can decide, you can take decisions, and as long as you are successful, you get a lot of support from the private equity firms that don't interfere with your business through corporate departments and corporate interventions. So you can really act as an entrepreneur without buying the entire company. So I liked, my motivation was really like, first I wanted to invest, but second, I want to be left alone in running the company and make it successful together with my team. And that actually happened to me twice that I had great private equity companies I worked for, which led me to my business, which led finally to a successful sale of the companies.
Yeah, because you do hear some horror stories of them kind of getting rid of the whole management team,
Hmm.
being very cutthroat because the goal is to profitability. So the fact that you say you can get left alone, that's really interesting. What process did you use to take the company to growth, and how long did it take you? Things like that.
Yeah, this is not something you can answer in a minute. At the end of the day, getting turning around a company is always a combination of understanding the market environment, understanding your team, putting the right management team in place, have a great team to work with you, and then you with the team you develop a kind of strategy for your business, a future plan of where you want to be in 3 years from now. Put your guardrails in place to have the right, say, decision making concepts in place. that makes maybe 20 to 30% of your success, but the rest is luck. It's very difficult to grow a company in a declining market environment. So you always need the combination as a top manager to do the right thing, but then you need to be lucky that the market is your friend. And I was lucky enough twice that the market, and first we put the right strategy in place, we put the right teams in place, but then we were also lucky to have the market environment becoming our friend and helping to grow the business.
Got it. What were some of the challenges you faced growing and selling the company in those 3 years?
Well, the challenges can be diverse. Of course, in a private equity environment, you always have cash restrictions. So a private equity fund is always, say, very professional in judging whether there's more money to be invested in a portfolio company or not. Therefore, you need to earn your own money to grow the company. And if the market environment is not so friendly, which happens from time to time, then it's not easy to do both. Generate the cash you need to grow the business to be ready for the future. So that's maybe always the biggest challenge to have to overcome the cash constraints you have and make sure that in difficult times you earn enough own cash to be invested back into the business to grow it and make it successful.
Okay, so you mentioned luck. What were the key things that you think you did that led it to a successful exit?
Mm. Of course, it's always difficult to forecast the future, but the key is to have a good feeling about where a business could be going and refocus it in time towards that new market environments which stimulate growth. Like in my previous company, that was a company which was very much focused on oil and gas applications. And the same product we had worked in environments like data center or hydrogen or carbon capture. So we started to move into new markets with the products which used to be used for oil and gas, a declining business environment. And we refocused the product in this very exciting data center hydrogen markets. And then we were lucky enough that these markets really took off, and they took off much faster than even our customers expected. So that was a combination of, say, doing the right thing with a lot of luck that the markets exploded just when we were ready.
So it's having that foresight as well, it sounds like is
Right.
pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you were to advise others who would like to invest in companies, grow them, sell them, what advice would you give?
Yeah, you need to know what you are doing. I think that is my advice. You need to understand really in detail of what you are investing in. So it makes a lot of sense to take a close look to the company you want to invest in, to do a proper due diligence, check the backlogs, the contract, the customer base, and check the market environment, because you need to be convinced that you can create value. Investing without afterwards having the possibility to do things better than they are doesn't make a lot of sense, and your investment would be idling. So you need to be convinced that you understand what you are investing in, and you need to be convinced that you can do it better than it is. Then it makes sense to put money into something.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered about building companies, scaling, exit, investments?
Yeah, it's you have to be careful in interpreting my experience. So my experience is really like I co-invested into a private equity portfolio company, which is very different from creating your own business from scratch. So creating business from scratch takes much more entrepreneurial courage and the ability to have risk capital at your fingertips. So then you need to be even more sure to understand what you are doing. I always admired people who have the courage to start a business from scratch or own a company by yourself rather than using an investment vehicle to where a lot of money from others come in. So my advice is have the courage, be inspired by what you can achieve, but always make sure you understand what you are doing.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate
Mm.
it.
You're always welcome.